Hi, this is Motivlobros with another kooky story from my life. Sorry my uploads are a bit sporadic, but I've been in the North Carolinian tribal demarcation for a year now, and I'm still looking for stable employment. I'm not sure how, but in the 12 of your Earth years since I had to last look for a job, it's gotten a hell of a lot harder. So basically, my job hunt is kind of a full-time job within itself, but instead of boring you with this crap, let's get on with the video. So, ever since I was about 11 of your Earth years old, I've always loved tabletop RPGs. You know, games such as Dungeons & Dragons, g.u.r.p.s, Shadowrun, etc. And throughout the years, even in present day, I've had like-minded pals that play them with me. For the uninitiated, tabletop RPGs are exactly what they sound like. Think of a video game RPG, but with your imagination instead of a computer screen, paper and pencil to keep track of your stats, various types of multi-sided dice instead of a computer controlling the odds, and a game master, aka a GM, basically telling the story and guiding the adventure for the players. From 1998 to about 2004, I played with a mix of old pals I went to high school with, and a couple friends I went to Tarrant County Junior College with at the time. We met up every week at a bowling alley called Showplace Lanes to play from about 9 p.m., usually lasting until about 4 a.m. Afterwards, we'd hang out at Denny's for breakfast. The group I played with were pretty cool, save for one guy. We'll call him, Randy. As a player, he's an alright guy, even though he was a bit of a stubborn dick in regards to the rules and would argue ad nauseum with whoever was GMing at the time. But there were times when he himself was a GM, and these were the times that I dreaded. You see, when Randy GM'd a game, he had a very specific, downright obsessive-compulsive set of rules, and if you broke one of them in the slightest, bam, he would kill your character outright and not let you roll up a new character for the rest of the campaign, basically keeping you out of the game for sometimes weeks at a time. No second chances, no forgiveness. He did make these rules crystal clear at the beginning of each campaign, so I'll at least give him that. So why did we even let this guy GM? Well, it was a bit of a double-edged sword. He was a very competent GM, and he created some awesome campaigns as long as you avoided his wrath. I personally would rather not have him GM at all, but it was pretty much outvoted in regards to this. One of this guy's biggest peeves was how we referred to him when he was running a campaign. Different games have different terms for a GM. For example, in Dungeons & Dragons, a GM is referred to as a Dungeon Master, or DM. In the World of Darkness games, they were referred to as a Storyteller, or ST. In Cyberpunk 2020, they were known as a Referee. You can see where I'm going with this. Randy's rule was, no using GM as a general catch-all term. If the game had a specific terminology, you were to use it. So my first experience with Randy as a GM was a Dungeons & Dragons campaign sometime around 1999. I was actually very proud because I lasted a good 3 weeks dodging this minefield of OCD until one Saturday night. I arrived to our regular table at the bowling alley and was invested in some pre-game chit-chat with the group. I didn't even have my character sheet out of my backpack when I complimented Randy on GMing an awesome campaign. He narrowed his eyes at me and said,
"During the course of the night while you were resting, an owlbear quietly snatched you away into the woods, never to be seen again. You, my friend, are dead."
And I'm like, what? Why? We haven't even started the freaking game yet. And he simply says,
"My DM screen was up, so the rules are in effect. You called me a GM, so you're dead. Better luck next time."
So I pretty much spent the rest of the night in the bowling alley arcade taking out my anger on the Killer Instinct 2 machine until it was time to head to Denny's. That very same year, another of his rules got me killed the very beginning of one of his campaigns, like 5 minutes or so in. You see, he was a very strict advocate against what was called metagaming, aka using info that you as a player know, but your character wouldn't. And to an extent, I agree with it, but sometimes somebody might accidentally meta and be corrected by the GM, and they'd be like, "Oh, my bad," and correct themselves, and be on with the game. No luck with this guy. So we just started a West End game Star Wars RPG campaign. I had my character all rolled up. The dice were very kind to me and gave me some hella tight stats. Randy gave the intro and our turn started, but I was distracted for some reason or another, half listening to what was going on, and I accidentally meted on some minor ass thing. Wasn't even in combat or anything, but BAM!
You metagamed, you did. Good luck next time.
So yeah, my first turn and I'm out of the entire campaign. I didn't even wait for my ride home that night. I just walked the 11 miles home muttering obscenities, and over the weeks that campaign took place, I was absolutely frustrated when I heard my pals talk about how epic it was. But this one is the coup de grace, the icing on the cake, the triscope on top of the interocitor. I wasn't the only one to fall victim to the wrath of Randy. Another friend, we'll call her Tasha, wanted to play a character called a Kender for a long time, but the consensus in my group was, oh god, my dead body.
You're kidding, right?
So what is a Kender, you ask? It's a race in D&D that a lot of people absolutely despise. Imagine a hobbit, but hyper, annoying as crap, and loves to steal people's stuff and has no qualms about lying, and they play it off as quote-unquote cute and charming. After a year or so of begging and pleading, Randy decided to let her play a Kender in one of his D&D campaigns. Tasha was ecstatic. She took great care in rolling up her character, and it was just absolutely adorable seeing how jazzed up she was over this. Then when the game started and her first turn rolled around, Randy immediately says,
A minotaur approaches behind you out of the bushes, and before you even notice, you are cleaved in half by his axe. You're dead. Better luck next time.
I swear, I could pinpoint the exact moment that things sunk in and Tasha's heart tore in half. She went pale and was on the verge of crying, asking him why. Randy coldly glared at her over his DM screen and said,
You know I don't allow Kender in my game, and neither does anyone else here. You should have seen this coming.
Eyes welling up with tears, Tasha got up and ran to the bathroom. Worried, I followed her and hung around the entrance to the restrooms to make sure she was okay when she emerged. I could hear her screaming and hitting things. This pissed me off more than anything. When she stepped out, I offered to give her a ride home since I took my own car this time around. By this time, I decided to screw the game because I couldn't even enjoy myself after this BS. We spent the rest of the night at her place playing Mario Kart on her N64, and we met our pals at Denny's later. At the Denny's, there was a conspicuous lack of Randy. Seemed the event sucked all the fun out of the game and they decided to call Randy out on his bullshit. Needless to say, Randy was butthurt and he stopped coming to the games altogether for a good month or so. This is only a sampling of the extent of this guy's jackassery, but the more I talk about it, the more I want to break something, so pardon me if I cut this video off here. So do you guys have any interesting tabletop RPG experience? If you do, feel free to share them in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Again, this is Motive Logros. Peace out, Earthlings.